Are you looking for a way to scale your short-term rental business and buy more properties? Well, co-hosting might be the right fit for you. Welcome to the Co-Host Coach podcast with Joe Roney. This episode of the Co-Host Coach is brought to you by Savvy STR Agents. If you're looking to buy a short-term rental, then contact the STR Savvy Agent team at savvy.realty.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Co-Host Coach. I am Joe Roney, and I am super excited to have fellow Savvy STR agent Nikkei Rosenberg with me with Stale Vacations, and here to talk about what she does in the short-term rental world. So, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Joe. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very honored to be on your show and excited for what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. We kind of got started and met each other online through the Facebook groups well over a year ago, and way before that, either of us were in the Savvy agent team, and both being fellow Florida realtors, just kind of got the chance to touch base and possibly share some investors back and forth.
Yeah, I remember I just saw you hustling and I was like, oh, I gotta know Joe. Like he's doing his thing, and yeah, connected on Facebook, and then went to Bill's conference, and now we're on the same team and get to be connected every single day.
Yep, and next week and a half we'll get to meet in person down in Asheville, North Carolina. So looking forward to the Savvy Summit and getting to be able to spend some little time down there.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I wish I was going on the slopes with you guys, however, for skiing, but not this time. I'm going to learn first, and then when we're not doing our real estate summit, I'm going to learn to ski, and then next time I'll be able to go skiing with you guys.
Yep. It'd been a few years, so I took my daughter to the local ski slopes here in St. Louis a few weeks ago, just so I could get a little practice before I get down there in front of everyone else. So,
how'd that go? Go good?
Yeah, it went good. Although we're a really small mountain here. We're like 350-foot drop compared to what's going to be, I think, 800 or 900-foot drop down in Hatley Point down there. So big difference.
Wow.
So this obviously is a co-host coaching podcast. We talk everything short-term rental property management, and you have a short-term rental management company. But before we get into that, what got you into short-term rentals in the beginning, and how long have you been in short-term rentals?
Oh my gosh, I am a dinosaur in short-term rentals. Let me tell you about this. So I actually started doing vacation rental management for an oceanfront resort in St. Augustine, Florida, on the beach side. It was 132 unit, 3-bedroom, 2-bath condos, all individually owned. I was 17 years old. I had graduated high school a year early. I knew college was not for me, and I grew up in a tourist town. St. Augustine was only tourism. There was really not much going on. It was either you worked in hospitality or you worked in the restaurants. And I answered an ad in a newspaper, got hired as an assistant vacation rental manager there. It was like an in-house HOA ran management program. And at the time, we had like maybe 10 properties that we were managing. I worked there until I was about 21. By the time we left, we had about 100 that we were managing, and all through that HOA. The HOA loved us because we made them a lot of money. But that was my, what I call hazing into the vacation rental management world, because it was a totally different world back then. Everything was we did have VRBO. Okay. So we had a little bit of VRBO, but 80% of our book of business was direct bookings, and people would drive by and see the sign and come in and book on our website. We did a website. We didn't even have social media. So it was a totally different world. And that's where I really got my butt kicked in the industry. And I learned all the things I wanted to learn and some things I didn't want to learn.
That's great. That's like going to the ancient days of selling real estate and having to put an ad in the newspaper. So
exactly.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's great. So you obviously did that short-term rental management and then jumped into real estate at some point. So when did you decide to start investing and selling real estate?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I had a pretty bad health scare doing property management, and I decided to get out of the industry for a little bit and got a cushy desk job. And then I went on to own some healthy commercial cafes for a little bit. And then about 8 years ago, when Vacasa was still a privately held company, they came and headhunted me to build the portfolio of properties in the Northeast Florida region. And I wasn't looking for a job because I had a business, but it was a pretty sweet deal. They were going to let me keep my business and also, work and make 6 figures there. And I was like, okay. So I did that. And really what got me into real estate was I went on a mission to really get a ton of referral business from realtors for my management portfolio. I would go into brokerages and I would do presentations. I would teach the realtors how to talk to short-term rental. It was all buyers. There were no sellers. Nobody was selling their short-term rental, believe me. But teaching them, like, how do you speak the language? How do you run a pro forma? Where's the regulations? Where to buy, where not to buy, how to do design and setup. I would go in and I would teach them all this. So over that course of like about 5 years, I did about 500 deals for other realtors.
Wow.
And I was the one, like, they didn't do any of the work really. Like, they just did the contract. I did everything else for them, and no regrets. It was awesome. I learned a lot, but that was like the kick in the butt for me of like, wow, they're making all this money and, doing all these deals, but I'm really doing the work for them. And I still do that a lot. I still partner with many realtors, many brokers, and we do a non-compete on the real estate side, but they still send me their management clients. But that was the push I needed to really, get my license and, start doing vacation rental management or start doing real estate, and servicing the management side of the business. So I did leave Vacasa shortly after they went public, and it's launched my own management company. So now I really service, I have my real estate business, which is mostly just short-term rental buyers and sellers. And then I have my management company that services those clients.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. And your management company, how many total properties are you managing currently?
So live properties, we have about 80 right now.
Okay.
In the pipeline, I'm gonna have 100 probably by the end of next month. Maybe not all live, but we've got about 100 between what's in onboarding and what's live.
That's awesome. And for the listeners out there, I want to kind of touch on a nugget that you said of going to meet realtors. You built your management business, or you built it for Vacasa, right? But you
Right.
did it through realtor referrals by going and teaching, training, and providing that value. And there's so many people getting into this co-hosting space. Whether you're going in to be a full property manager and doing collecting the money and doing trust accounting, or you're doing it the way I do it, where you don't collect the money and you do it on the true co-host side. It doesn't
Right.
matter. At the end of the day, it's the same business. It's just a different way of accounting. But to get those clients, it's the same thing. You got to go out and
Hmm.
provide value. And I think that is awesome.
Yeah, it's exactly what I did. And I made it easy for them, because everyone's busy. I think convenience and helping them see, like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to do this, but I'm also going to do it for you.
Yes.
that made them like, okay, I'm in, right? What do I need to do? Sign me up. Here's my client list.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really awesome. So you're managing 80 plus, getting ready to grow that.
Hmm.
Rocking it in the short-term rental real estate side with the Savvy STR team. And you currently own short-term rentals yourself as well, or?
Yeah, so we have a few properties. We've got one in Virginia on the farm, one in the Ormond Beach area. Won't tell the government. And then because it's not technically allowed there, but and then one that we're setting up right now in Palm Coast. I hope to have that one launched before summer.
Awesome. Awesome. Definitely want to do that because that's summer's still busy season on the Palm Coast up in the
It
northeast
is,
side.
yeah, and the Palm Coast pool homes, they do great.
Yep. That's exciting. Like, I love having guests on the show talking about the different ways they do property management. So tell me a bit about your property management business, how it's structured, how many employees, staff members that you have, and kind of what that looks like.
Yeah. So we are only in the Northeast Florida market. We're only about a year old, but my business partner had the business. He kind of had the same journey as me, as in he worked for a company that went public, became a corporation, started buying short-term rentals on the side, and decided, wow, like property managers don't always do a good job, right? The industry can be, there can be that, let's say, I would just say that probably 80% of property managers don't do a great job. And so that's what he
Yep.
found. And he was like, I can do this. So the Sailor brand has been around for about 4 years, but the Northeast Florida market has been just shy of a year.
Okay.
And so we scaled pretty quickly. I think within 6 months, we had about 35, 40 properties live. And I did it all, me and one main operations person. And so now I've got myself, and my job is really to oversee operations, oversee sales and onboarding, and compliance. But I do still help with some of the day to day because we don't have every single, you know, operating procedure outlined exactly. So we're still building a little bit of that. So we have Diana, she's my main operations manager, and then she has support roles online. So we have two, one part-time, one full-time online support. One VA, one of those is a VA that's full time, and then the other two are in market. So Diana really spends her time a few days a week in the field, and then a couple days online. And then we do have some like accounts payable support from like our collaboration with the Tennessee team, and a little bit of admin support. So really right now we are running the Florida market with about 4 people.
Okay.
And then a little bit of support, from a revenue management and accounts payable perspective, with a couple other people. But I wouldn't say that they even work part-time for the Florida market, but they're just kind of there to support when needed. And we are full service. So I came from full service management. So we are full service in that. In this market where I'm at, most clients want full service. Like they don't want to be a part of anything. They're very hands off. They're willing to pay for the full service, and they just don't want to have to think about it at all. That's typically what I find in my market, because it's a very traditional vacation rental market, very old school. So you have people that they have properties here and it's their vacation home. And you do have a lot of investors in the last 5 years that have come in, and it's just about numbers for them, right? And they're a little bit different mindset. But our model is truly full service, in that they just get their check every month. The only time that we communicate, but the only time that we really involve them is if there's like the AC goes down and it's a big repair, or there's a flood, or something of a bigger issue that they really need to help us make decisions.
Yep.
And yeah, we also launch short-term rentals. We design them. So we really go into each property with a consultative approach, because a lot of people bring us properties and it's like, this is all right, but we really need to take it up a notch if you want this to be a successful short-term rental. And to be honest, I don't really want to manage it, because you're setting me up to fail if we don't make this property stand out and meet a higher standard as far as the design and the setup and the amenities.
Yeah. And I think, it's funny. So you do yours through the full, property management, trust accounting wise. I do mine through the co-hosting side, but we both offer the same service, right? So all my clients are fully hands off. The difference is, instead of me writing them a check at the end of the month, all they have to do is write me a check at the end of the month, because they collected the money, but everything else is
Right.
pretty much handled the same way.
Right.
And, my wife and I are leaving tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. to drive down to set up a new short-term rental for a new co-host property. So we'll be there for the next 7 days. But we do some, small designs. We do some big designs, just like you guys. So, and I think that's so important in any management, no matter how big or small your management company is, to be in the property and do those updates and make them, stand out to be successful. Because I'm in the same mindset of you. If it's not going to stand out, I don't want to put my name on a turd, right? I want to put
Yeah.
my name on something that's really nice. And
No.
and I think that's awesome that even in a full service property management business, that you're still able to do that. So what does that
Yeah.
process look like? Are you really involved in that, or is your team a little bit more involved in that part of it?
I am pretty involved in I bring most of the business. I do have, I forgot to mention, I did hire someone for full-time for sales recently. So he's just now about at 6 weeks. So he's still getting getting a feel of things, learning things, but I am pretty involved in everything. And it's because I want to be, I don't run all the day-to-day operations, but when it comes to onboarding new properties and bringing on new business, like even with my salesperson, like we're looking at every single property. We're analyzing if it's a good property. We're looking at the revenue. We're looking at the design. And, I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm the one that's like, yes, we're bringing this on, or no, we're not.
Yep.
Because I just know the impacts to my operations team if we bring on something that's not up to par. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I learned being at Vacasa for so long. And in the beginning, they were a privately held company and it was a little different. But towards the end, it was like, bring as much many properties and as much volume as you can. It doesn't matter what the property is like. We just need units.
Yep.
And because of that, they had these properties that were just terrible, just terrible portfolio. And I just learned, no, I'm not, I don't care how much these people beg me to manage their property. If they're not willing to invest in it, neither am I,
Yep.
because it's a huge, as you know, it's a huge investment of time and energy and resources to make a property perform well. Because I look at each one of them as each home or condo, because we do a lot of condos too, is its own business, and each has to be treated as such. And so definitely quality of inventory is super important.
Yeah, quality over quantity, and that's, I preach that a lot on here. The smaller boutique management companies are time and time again proving that they're outperforming the big companies. And when you go to AirDNA and you look at who are the bottom 5 property management companies, it's mostly the same 5 type of property management companies. They all have 200, 300, 400 or more listings in that general area. And like you said, they're taking on every single property they can. And sometimes you just have to say no. And, if you have an owner that, if the house looks like Golden Girls and the owner doesn't want to invest in it, then it's
Yeah.
probably not going to be a property that's going to be successful. And really, for that property manager, all they're going to do is set it and forget it anyway. So what's the point in bringing
Mhm.
it on? You're going to make an extra $300 to $500, maybe $2,000 at the most in a year. It's just not
Right.
worth it. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, so I love what you're doing. I love, you're doing it in the full property management side. We have, people in my mastermind and in my network that do both ways. Actually, one of my mastermind members just went from being a full co-host to actually joining with another, partnering with another, and creating a whole new property management company, or joining one, and went from 10 to 70 units overnight. So,
Wow, that's great.
it's great to see, and I love watching people win. So, let's talk a little bit about the Northeast Florida market as far as real estate, and why
Mm.
investing in there is really looking good. Every deal that you come across in that you're posting on our group, I'm like, wow, like I haven't really looked at the Northeast Florida market because I'm a Panhandle guy, but
Yeah,
man, there's some good deals out there.
there are. I would say because it's that, again, that traditional market, there's so much opportunity for a lot. To be honest, a lot of the deals are properties that need work. There are these homes that were built 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and they need that touch when it comes to the cosmetic renovation. So now there are also a lot of new builds. So I do see some opportunities up with the new builds. There's pros and cons to both. And some people like to go the route of, I'm working on an oceanfront deal right now. It'd be an amazing short-term rental that would do 15 to 20%, returns, but it'd also be an amazing flip. So it's like, I've got clients that they want that equity play where they're like, wow, I'm this like the one deal we're looking at, she probably would have about 500K plus an equity, after she renovated it, plus it'd be an amazing short-term rental. So some of the properties, because it's an old school market, do need some love and some cosmetic work, and renovating bathrooms and things like that. But to be honest with you, you can also get away without doing some of that work and just making the design and the amenities really amazing. It just depends on what the person's like willing to do. The new builds are nice because it's cheap insurance. And on the Northeast Florida coast, a lot of people are worried about insurance. Insurance here is very affordable. As long as you're not in a flood zone, which even then, if you can transfer the flood policy, like this oceanfront one, it's not in a flood zone, but the flood policy is there. You might as well keep it and you can transfer it. And it's $1,000 a year. You might as well have it. So the insurance over here is pretty fair, but on new builds, it's really fair. Um, And there are a lot of builders building on like individual lots, and those make sense. And I've done quite a few of those. And as long as you know, design right and set them up well, those are really good. But anything near the beach, near the coast is great. And then of course we have like, you know, the Jacksonville area, downtown St. Augustine, Palm Coast is really popping, Daytona, and all these areas in Florida, they are all doing major initiatives to bring more value and tourism to the areas. You know, for example, Jacksonville's doing something called the Evergreen Trail, or sorry, the Emerald Trail, and it's like a trail all through the whole city, kind of like they did in Indy. You know, and it's going to have all the bars and the shops and the restaurants and all that, and you can literally go from area to area. And then like, you know, in Daytona they have the whole boardwalk and band shell, and like there's just so much stuff that's going on, and so many events that they're doing. Tourism is everything in Florida. You know, we don't pay state taxes. It's all about the tourism taxes for us. So for us, you know, every city is doing everything they can to get more tourism.
And for the record, when we had anywhere from 2 to 8 inches of snow at the beach last week in the Panhandle, you guys
Mhm.
didn't get any snow in your area, right?
No, we didn't. Which I thought it was colder over here than over there. I
Yeah.
don't know.
We got down to 24 at my house that I own over in PCB. Was the lowest outside temp was, I think, 23, 24. So
We
um,
didn't get that low. So
definitely not used to that in the Panhandle. I'm looking forward to traveling there this week when it's going to be in the 60s and
I know
be
it's
able to
gonna be
walk out on the
70s
beach.
here. It's
Yeah.
62 right now, actually. So
Yeah. So better weather is coming. And, you know, I really love the idea of what you were talking about. So everyone in the real estate investing world knows what a burr is. And Kenny Bedwell's term is the stir, the short-term rental burr.
the
And, you
stir.
know, you know, I've had multiple discussions with him about a stir. And it's a great way to get into short-term rentals. I literally was just talking to an investor yesterday that he's a little bit light on the cash. He could do a you know, a rehab loan and maybe pull some money out of a home equity. And I usually don't recommend using your home equity line of credit to buy a short term rental because you know you got to make enough money and pay that loan off. But
Yeah,
if you're doing it to do a stir or a burr, and you can refinance and get yourself paid right back in 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is, then that makes sense to use that home equity line of credit.
exactly. Yep. Yeah, that's a great way to get into the market here. There's many opportunities for that.
And we don't see a lot of that in the Panhandle. I mean, there are some rundown homes here and there, but most of them are not beachfront. And what I've seen is, you know, you're posting beachfront homes for, you know, a million plus, but like beachfront homes in my area are 3 million plus on average. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's affordable to be beachfront or tier one and not be, you know, too
Mm,
far away from the beach over there. So I love the market. I love what you got going on down there. And
thank
I'm
you.
gonna have to come visit. My cousin he lived in Marion. He's down there in Cocoa Beach for the next 2 months, and he keeps wanting me to come down there, but as you know, our schedule's been pretty hectic lately,
Yeah,
so
you've been busy. Yeah, Coco's only like an hour from me, so that would be great. Definitely come hang out and scope out the market.
yep, I think they're there until the first week of March, so we'll see what February looks like and, you know, if things slow down a little bit. Not looking really good at the moment with, you know, what's on the pipeline at the moment, but yeah. So, you know, I guess you know, a little bit of parting thoughts on the short-term rental market in your area and, what this
Mm.
year looks like and what the rentals have looked like in your area.
Rentals are awesome. I mean, we are steady 70% plus occupancy. The beauty of my market is, you know, we have great weather most of the year. So the only time that we really see a slowdown is like after Labor Day, after the kids have gone back to school and people have traveled all spring and summer, and now they're waiting to travel again until holiday, that like September, October, part of November timeframe. But then as soon as holiday hits, it's bumping again, you know, because people come to this area and, you know, bring their families and celebrate holiday. January can be a little bit slower. Not dead, but you know, 30 to 40% occupancy, sometimes like up to 50. But then the rest of the year, I mean, we are so busy. Right now we're doing like our prep for busy season, which really I would say is like end of February, March 1. The thing about our area is we have so many events. We've got the St. Augustine Nights of Lights that people come from all over the world for. We've got, all the Daytona 500 and Bike Week and Biketoberfest. And we've got many different music venues, and we've got just so much happening all the time here. And, that really keeps us busy and they're constantly trying to fill. Like, I noticed now that we have like way more events and festivals and music things like in September and October. And I really think that's strategic from people, that are, in the industry and in the market. They want to bring in traffic year round.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty cool to see that. So yeah, I would say solid 70% occupancy here. And if we have storms, that kind of throws us off because people get scared. They're like, oh, there's a storm, I don't want to go. But to be honest with you, in the last hurricanes, because the Gulf side got hit, we had everyone that had evacuated from the Gulf here. We were fully booked.
Yeah.
Fully booked, book solid. None of my properties were open because people needed a place to stay to get away from other areas.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great occupancy here.
No, that's awesome. So it's definitely a market I need to look into a little bit more. Obviously, I love investing in Florida. I like the Panhandle because I can be there in less than 12 hours in my car, and the white sand beaches. But the Atlantic side, man, there's a lot of really great areas, and it's definitely something I got to check out. So
For
I
sure, for sure.
so if you are a short-term rental investor, or if you are in the Northeast and you have a short-term rental looking for a new property manager, please get a hold of Nikki. All of her information is going to be on our show notes. So we'll have the links to her website, information on how you can get a hold of her. And thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Joe. This was awesome.
All right, guys, that's another episode of the Co-Host Coach. This really appreciate you guys being on here today, and we'll see you next week.